Chapter 20 of The Outdoor Girls of Deepdale. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Jennifer Dahlman. The Outdoor Girls of Deepdale by Laura Lee Hope. The Boy Peddler. "What are we to do?" asked Amy in dismay. "We can't leave her here," added Molly. At the word leave, the child broke into a fresh burst of tears. "I's losted," she sobbed. "I don't got no home. I tain't find muvver. Don't go 'way." "Bless your heart, we won't," consoled Betty, still smoothing the tousled hair. "We'll take you home. Which way do you live?" "That way," answered the child, pointing in the direction from which the girls had come. "Oh, dear!" exclaimed Grace. "Have we got to go all the way back again?" "Me live over dere, too!" exclaimed the lost child, indicating with one chubby finger the other direction. "Gracious! Can she live in two places at once?" cried Molly. "What a child!" "She can't mean that," said Betty. "Probably she is confused and doesn't know what she is saying." "Me do know!" came from the top, positively. She had stopped sobbing now, and appeared interested in the girls. "Mamma Carey live dat way, and Mamma Mary live dat way." In quick succession she pointed first in one direction and then in the other. "Oh, dear!" sighed Amy. "It's getting worse and worse." "You can't have two mammas, you know," said Betty gently. "Try and tell us right, dearie, and we'll take you home." "I dot two mammas," announced the child positively. "Mamma Carey live down there. Mamma Mary live off there. I be at Mamma Carey's house, and I turn back. Then I get losted. Take me home." She seemed on the verge of tears again. "Here!" exclaimed Grace in desperation. "Have a candy. Do. Two of them. But don't cry. She reminds me of the twins," she added, with just a suspicion of moisture in her own eyes. The lost child gravely accepted two chocolates, one in each hand, and at once proceeded to get about as much on the outside of her face as went in her mouth. She seemed more content now. "I can't understand it," sighed Molly. "Two mothers! Who ever heard of such a thing?" "Me got two muvvers," said the child, calmly, as she took a bite first of the chocolate in her left hand, and then a nibble from the one on the right. "One live dat way, one live udder way." "What can she be driving at?" asked Amy. "There must be some explanation," said Betty, as she got up from the stump on which she had been sitting, and placed the child on the ground. "We'll take her a little distance on the way we are going," she went on. "Perhaps we may meet some one looking for her." "And we can't delay too long," added Molly. "It will soon be supper time, and my aunt, where we are going to stay tonight, is quite a fusser. I sent her a card, saying we'd be there, and if we don't arrive she may call up our houses on the telephone and imagine that all sorts of accidents have befallen us." "But we can't leave her all alone on the road," spoke Betty, indicating the child. "Don't eave me!" pleaded the lost tot. "Me want one of my muvvers." "It's getting worse and worse," sighed Molly, wanting to laugh, but not daring to. Slowly the girls proceeded in the direction they had been going. They hoped they might meet someone who either would be looking for the child, or else a traveler who could point them properly to her house, or who might even assume charge of the little one, for it was getting late and the girls did not feel like spending the night in some strange place. It was practically out of the question. They were going along, Betty holding onto one of the child's hands, the other small fist tightly clutching some sticky chocolates, when a turn of the road brought the outdoor girls in sight of a lad who was seated on a roadside rock, tying a couple of rags around his left foot, which was bleeding. Beside the boy, on the ground, was a pack such as country peddlers often carry. The lad seemed in pain, for as the girls approached, their footfalls deadened by the soft dust in the road, they heard him murmur, "Ouch! That sure does hurt. It's a bad cut, all right. And I don't see, Jimmy Martin, how you're going to do much walking. Why, couldn't you look where you were going and not step on that piece of glass?" He seemed to be finding fault with himself. "Gracious!" exclaimed Molly. "I hope this isn't another lost one. We seem to be getting the habit." "He appears to be able to look after himself," said Amy. The boy heard their voices and looked up quickly. Then, after glancing at them, he went on binding up his foot. But at the sight of him, the little girl cried, "Oh, that's Dimmy! That's my Dimmy! He take me home to my two mothers!" She broke away from Betty and ran towards the boy Peddler. "Why, it's Nellie Burton!" exclaimed the lad. "Whatever are you doing here?" "I's losted!" announced the child, as though it was the greatest fun in the world. "I's losted, and dey's found me, but dey don't know where my two mothers is. Oo take me home, Dimmy." "Of course I will, Nellie. That is, if I can walk." "Did oo hurt oo's foot?" "Yes, Nellie. I stepped on a piece of glass, and it went right through my shoe. But it's stopped bleeding now." "Do you know this little girl?" asked Betty. "We found her on the road, but she can't seem to tell us where she lives. First she points in one direction, and then in the other, and—" "And we can't understand about her two mothers," broke in Molly. "Do, please, if you can, straighten it out. Do you know her?" "Yes, ma'am," answered the boy Peddler. His voice was pleasant. He took off a rather ragged cap politely and stood up on one foot, resting the cut one on the rock. "She's Nellie Burton. She lives about a mile down that way." And he pointed in the direction from which the girls had come. "I live dere sometimes," spoke the child, "and sometimes down dere." And she indicated two directions. "I dot two mudders. I dot two movers." "What in the world does she mean?" asked Molly helplessly. "That's what she always says," spoke the boy. "She calls one of her aunts her mamma. It's her mother's sister, you see. She lives about a mile down from Nellie's house, and Nellie spends about as much time at one place as she does the others. She always says that she has two mothers." "I has!" announced the child, calmly accepting another chocolate from Grace. "And you know Nellie?" asked Betty pointedly. "Yes," said the boy. "You see, I work through this part of the country. I peddle writing papers, pens, pins, needles, and notions," he added, motioning to his pack. "I often stop at Nellie's house and at her aunt's, too. They are my regular customers," he added proudly, with a proper regard for his humble calling. "I'm doing pretty well, too," he went on. "I've got a good trade, and I'm thinking of adding to it. I'll take little Nellie back home for you," he offered. "I'm going that way. Sometimes when I'm late, as I am today, her mother keeps me overnight." "That's nice," said Betty. "We really don't know what we would do with her, and we ought to be in Flatbush at my friend's aunt's house." And she indicated Molly. "Will you go with your little friend?" Betty asked the child. "Me go with Dimmy," was the answer, confidently given. "Dimmy know where I live." "But can you walk?" asked Amy, as they all noticed the boy's foot was quite badly cut. "Oh, I guess I can limp, if I can't walk," he said bravely. "If I had a bandage, I might tie it up so I could put on my shoe. Then I'd be all right." "Let me fix it!" exclaimed Betty impulsively. "I know something about bandaging, and we have some cloth and ointment with us. I'll bandage up your foot." "Oh, I couldn't think of troubling you," he protested. I guess I can do it." But he winced with pain as he accidentally hit his foot on the stone. "Now, you just let me do it," insisted the Little Captain. "You really must, and you will have to walk to take Nellie home. That will be something off of our minds." "Maybe we can get a lift," suggested the boy. "Often farmers let me take a ride with them. There may be one along soon." "Let's hope so, for your sake, as well as Nellie's," spoke Grace. "It's really kind of you, and quite providential that we met you." "Yes, ma'am," replied the boy, looking from one pretty girl to the other. "I'll take care of Nellie. I've known her for some time, you see. I peddle around here a lot. My father's dead, and I haven't got any relatives except for a sick aunt that I go to see once in a while, and I'm in business for myself." "You're quite the little soldier," complimented Betty, as she got out the bandage and salve. "You are very brave." "Oh, I haven't got any kick coming," he answered with a laugh. "Of course, this cut foot will make me travel slow for a while, and I can't get to all of my customers on time, but I guess they'll save their trade for me. The regulars will." "I might be worse off," the lad continued after a pause. I might be in as bad a hole as that fellow I saw on the train not long ago." "How is that?" asked Betty, more for the sake of saying something rather than because she was interested. The boy himself had carefully washed out the cut on the roadside spring, and, as it was clean, the girl applied the salve and was skilfully wrapping the bandage around the wound. "What man was that?" she added. "Why," said the boy, "I had a long jump to make from one town to another, and there weren't any customers in between. I rode on the train. The only other passenger in our car was a young fellow, asleep. All of a sudden he woke up in his seat and began hunting all through his pockets. First I thought he had lost his ticket, for he kept hollering, 'It's gone! It's gone! I've lost it! My last hope!' and things like that. I was going to ask him what it was, and then he shouted, 'My $500 bill! It's gone!' And out of the car he ran, hopping off the train, which was slowing up at a station. That was tough luck, losing $500. Of course I couldn't do it, for I never had it," added the boy philosophically, as he watched Betty adjusting the bandage. Chapter 21